Man, today I want to talk about an issue, man. It really touches my heart and my soul even. And it's been weighing on me a little bit because this has to do with my grandfather's trust. And he was a good man and he left things for his family. He did things the way was right. He lived to 100 years old and I really respected Papa E. And one of the times, it's probably about 2 to 3 years prior to his death. I came down. I lived pretty, far from him, so I didn't come down much to see him. But I came down. I said, "Poppy, I want to take you out to breakfast, and I just want to talk to you about the future and where I think the family could end up." And we sit down, and one of the things we talked about, we was like, "Hey, what about the property?" I says, "I think it'll be really important to keep it within the family. A really valuable property up in, a really nice part of Los Angeles." And completely paid off. And I was like, I would hope you don't ever sell that and it could stay within the family because it's going to be really profitable for generations to come. But he said, nah, my children I know can't get along, so they just gonna have to sell it. It won't work. And then I also just told him, I said, Papa E, I just don't want to see the family divided. So whatever you can do, is there any way whatever you can possibly do, just hopefully it can be done where there won't be division as long as everybody do what they're supposed to do. And so my grandfather was a really diligent man. He got his trust written up and he had several amendments to it and everything looks in line to me. There's nothing that you can't understand. But when my mom started asking questions and then had me step in as attorney in fact, then you'll start to see. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys a few things here that see. Okay. So let me open these guys. Get my view a little bit bigger here. Okay. So right here, these are the trustees, my aunties as well. I used to call her Auntie Jackie. Her name is Jacqueline White. And this was Mikey, Auntie Mikey, but now her name is Michaela Carmela Adams Rito. That's what I refer to them from here on out. So these are the two co-trustees. I don't know why, but Jacqueline was the oldest, I thought, and then this is Michaela. Okay. So they're the ones that's supposed to dispense the trust as written. Now, here is one of the provisions from the trust that is relevant. Specific rights to real property for Michaela Carmela Adams Rito. And the other individual isn't relevant. Okay. Upon my death, Michaela Adams Rito shall have the right to occupy the property located at, provided that the property is not sold. Michaela Carla Adams Rito will be responsible for all expenses of property. If Michaela Carmela Adams Rito failed to pay expenses, taxes, insurance, and maintenance expenses, their right to reside in such property will be extinguished. Okay. And the rest, okay, we can go through it. Upon their death, this right shall lapse. If such beneficiary should die or is no longer living at the above property for more than 6 months, this right shall lapse, and my trustee shall administer the specific distribution in accordance with the articles that follow. So it's really important when he talks about pay expenses, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Okay. So here is just some of the expenses right here. Like I said, he passed on 11/5/2022. So this is like even a year later, but there was a bunch of expenses, and all the expenses at the property came out to 55,503 and $73. Now, Michaela lived at the property uh rent free from 11/5/2022 all the way up until it was December of 2023. Okay. Now, so all these expenses, even though I said she would pay all expenses, she didn't. Okay. It was 55,503 and 73 cents. Okay. Then next up, what we'll go down to is it said all utilities as well. So see all of this. Now, I think it might probably was after I came in as attorney in fact and started questioning things, then they started paying some of these funds back. You can see the Los Angeles County tax. Michaela was reimbursing. So, like to me, like even all my years like in law enforcement, when somebody is reimbursing or giving it back, that means they took it. Like, and I remember like, man, I remember when I was in grade school and they used to have these little tickets they would pass out in school. And you would get these, they would cut these Fritos open. They cut the Fritos open, you pour the chili up in there. And I remember I found that this nun had a whole roll of these tickets, and I got some of the tickets. And I remember getting in the car, like, look, mom, I got a few bags of chili cheese. And my mom made me take those tickets and walk back in there and give it back to the principal. I was like, wow. But if I'm like giving this stuff back, that means I took it. You see what I'm saying? So they're reimbursing the trust. See? So when they're reimbursing the trust, that means they took something. And I didn't see any provisions in the trust that would allow for them to take this. And it said their right to occupancy would be extinguished. And so they're not paying utilities, not paying the taxes, not paying the maintenance, right? Let's go back up there. Okay. So those are examples. If Michael Adams Riedels fails to pay expenses, taxes, insurance, and maintenance expenses, their right to reside in such property will be extinguished. So now she didn't, from what I can see, she didn't pay the expenses. Okay, she didn't pay the taxes, the insurance, and the maintenance expenses, but her right to reside wasn't extinguished till a year later. Okay, those are the first things that my mother saw. Okay, now after mom brings this to their attention as well, then my mom looks at the accounting and we see an additional $23,000 that was missing that Michaela says she had to pay herself a check to get her dental work done. There was also no provision with inside the trust for that. Okay, so then that was brought up to them, and then this $23,000 is missing. So next up, what she does is um, does a unsecured promissory note for the principal sum of 8,000. This is one. Okay, you can see she's the maker, and the other one is for 15,000. So this is for repayment of the $23,000 that she had paid to herself. And I don't believe there was a vision. I couldn't find any provision with inside the trust that allowed for it. Okay. So that's the $23,000. So when my mom raises these issues, she's objecting to the accounting. Originally, they bring the matter into they tell my mom that they're not gonna, no, I'm sorry, I was the attorney in fact. So they tell me, we're not gonna address your objections. We're gonna go ahead and move this into the Superior Court. So, um, one of the requirements is they're supposed to address the objections. Parties are supposed to work it out before you're in court, and they wouldn't even address our objections. So what they did was right around this time, they had their first law firm. Now, Beezer, Ledwitz, and Associates were already the attorneys who deal with Jacqueline White. So that was already the people she's familiar with. Maybe that's why she got them involved. But she had these individuals involved. This is an accounting firm that did the accounting, but she has these guys involved, Beezer Ledwitz, for the first few. Then Beezer Ledwitz, who shares an office with Christopher Brandlin, they decide to go ahead and move this petition into court, saying that it needs to be approved by the court. So then this guy, Christopher Brandlin, comes in. Then my mom puts forward an objection to his petition, and then the court finds 11 notes that were wrong with the accounting. Okay, then later on, my mom files a motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction because they didn't, before taking it to court, they had to go through the special co-trustee. They didn't go through the special co-trustee. So my mom filed a motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction. Then right here, Christopher, he steps out the case. Now they give him a last payment, but he steps out in around March 13th. He files to substitute himself out, and then here comes Baker, Burton, and Lundy come in with a big boom, 10,000 right up front. So this was the cycle. Christopher Brandlin got over, I think, 15,000 for a petition he started. Then it got stopped by the court, had 11 discrepancies. Then he moved to dismiss the petition once my mother filed for that he didn't go to the special co-trustee. Now they hire Baker, Burton, and Lundy. And I'm not sure what all these fees are for, but it just went on, and it was up to 66,000, $322.56 between all these different law firms right here. Then there's also, since that point in time, there is, it's up to 80, like 87,000 right now. I have two of, okay, one of them was a $10,000 check that they just did again. They gave him another on 7/1, gave him another $6,897.37, 39 cents. Then here's another one, another $2,694.69, and there's another $10,000 check as well. So that's pretty much stop sharing. So that's pretty much like that's just a little bit of background. I don't know. Give me your opinion on what you see because it just didn't everything didn't line up for me and this is what I'm seeing is even like dividing the family and it's causing a lot of tension. Um and that really bothers me. And to me, the trust was really it was well detailed. It was written out. There's no not even a question of what was written in there or whatever else. It's clear. But I just don't see that. I don't see provisions for everything that was done in some of the documentation you saw right there. And then instead of just sitting down and talking about it, we find ourselves in court. Um, you know, my mom is getting older. Their $88,000 of the beneficiary's money has been spent on attorneys. And I just don't even understand, like, that doesn't even make sense to me. So, I'm just doing this to shed light on you know, I hear this is happening in a lot of families right now. Like almost everybody I say something to, like, oh, I know a story like that, such and such died. And then the cousin didn't do this, or somebody didn't pass the money out. And like, um, so there's a lot of people with issues. And then I know I spoke to someone called me the other day and was asking me some questions about their trust. And like they were just at the beginning phases and nowhere in court or anything. They were just just saying, hey, like this is what's going on. And I was just like, hey man, you better just write a good record, keep track of everything. And so that's just, I just want to like share that story. Really, I like to get your comments down below as well. Like, what do you think is going on here? Like, does this look kind of strange to you? I'm kind of curious on your guys' thoughts on this. So, I'll be going into a lot more detail in this in the next maybe a couple of days or so. So you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
Words in papers, words in books, words on TV, words for books, words of comfort, words of ease, words to make the fighting cease. Eat your words, but don't go hungry. Words have always nearly hung me. Words are stupid, words are fun. Words can put you on the run. Concrete words, abstract words, words to tell you what to do. Words can put you on the run.